Hi everyone, we are going to introduce ourselves. Okay. Hi, I'm Zekai. Hi.
What?
一定要介绍啊！
Hi. What's your name?
Michelle.
介绍啊！
Hi, I'm Cynthia.
Yo,
再见
I'm Zoe.
Hi, I'm Kai.
We are going to talk about a building that we all admire called Fallingwater, which is also called the Kaufman Residence. It is located at
Pennsylvania.
United States. It's a very special house that was built over a waterfall by America's most famous architect. Guess who is he? Frank Lloyd Wright, of course. Wright designed this house for his clients, the Kaufman family. The building caught everyone's attention as it is a house that doesn't even appear to stand on solid ground. Instead, it stretches out over a 30-inch waterfall, like a huge diving board. Fallingwater was built between 1936 and 1939, which became famous instantly. After Edgar Kaufman passed away, his son, Edgar Kaufman Jr., claimed that the building is open for public and it became a National Historic Landmark until now.
But first, I'm going to give you a little touch up on Frank Lloyd Wright's biography before I explain how he came to design Fallingwater. So, who's Frank Lloyd Wright? Well, Frank Lloyd Wright is a famous American architect during the 19th to 20th century. He's known for making his organic architectural style on commercial buildings like his famous Guggenheim Museum or residential buildings like his Tennyson House. But not only was he famous for these two buildings, he also designed Japan's Imperial Hotel, which makes him an international architect. Now, I'm going to talk to you about how he came to design Fallingwater. First of all, he had a consultation with Edgar J. Kaufman, head of the Kaufman family. Edgar J. told the architect that he and his family loved to see the rushing waterfalls of Bear Run. And while hearing this, Wright took a visit to the place where he built the residence. And from seeing the waterfalls of Bear Run, he decided to take inspiration of it having the waterfall idea. And while doing this, he decided to make the Kaufman family experience nature of the waterfalls because he had this belief that man should unite with nature one day, just like he applied to all his architectural buildings. Seeing that the house will be placed on the rock's natural patterns, he decided to create a set of concrete trays. He cantilevers them and attached them to a chimney nest to symbolize them as rock ledges. To ensure that the house is safe to live in, he creates strong horizontal lines and low ceilings to give a sheltering effect. Then, that's how he called it falling water, based on the idea of waterfalls.
For right design principles and form acquire a symbolic meaning, architecture can represent pictorial qualities that harmonize with the environment. Architectural beauty is seen as a reflection of the harmony that manifests from the integration of design, plan, form, and materials. This is Wright's organic approach to design. Architectural beauty is a natural outcome of the clear design plan of simple and harmonious relationships. All elements of a structure should be designed with economy according to the natural principles of geometrical relationships and the original use of appropriate materials. Wright used different geometrical forms, usually squares and rectangles, to produce the distinct form, particularly in regards to the Perrier house design. Wright's organic was focused to design of the exteriors and interiors. In this way, Wright is considered to be very much part of the modernized agenda in the early 20th century architecture. As important aspect for design is the value that ornament should be based upon the abstraction of nature. Wright developed his own distinct ornament vocabulary. With it, he strove to unify the interior and exterior of a design through its decorative detailing. By employing this method, Wright sought to unify structural and aesthetic elements into a single composite form. Although the word organic in common usage refers to characteristics of animals or plants, Wright's organic architecture takes on a new meaning. It's not style of imitation, because he did not come to be a building were representative of a nature. Instead, organic architecture is a reinterpretation of nature's principles as they had been filtered through the intelligent minds of men and women, who could then build building more nature. Organic architecture involves a respect for the properties of the materials. You don't twist a steel into a flower. And a respect for the harmonious relationship between the form, design, and function of the building. For example, Wright rejects the idea of making a bank look like a temple grid. Organic architecture is also an attempt to integrate the space into a coherent whole, a marriage between the site and the structure and union between the context and the structure. The principles address ideas about the relationship of the human scale to the landscape, the use of new materials like glass and steel to achieve more spatial architecture, and the development of a building's architectural character, which was his answer to the notion of style.
Frank Lloyd Wright designed the Fallingwater to redefine the relationship between man, architecture, and nature by joining the design of the house with the waterfall itself. He used a technique called biomimicry, which actually means the production of structures, materials, and such based on biological entities, or in simple words, imitating nature as a model for design. But Wright did not exactly imitate the way how waterfalls are formed. But the great sharp-edged rock ledges exposed at the waterfall suggested to Wright the possibility extending the horizontal floor units in space like the rock themselves. In fact, most of his designs were meant to remind people of the waterfall under the house. Frank Lloyd Wright's Fallingwater is a famous example of biomimicry for its combination into the landscape. The design of Fallingwater would come from the side as naturally as a flower from the ground. Fallingwater was designed to be in harmony with nature. Wild animals living nearby, tall trees surround it, and huge boulders rest at its feet. It's one of the world's most famous flawless architectural buildings.
When Wright first visited the Bear Run property, he was shown areas suitable for a new house. The floor with its several cascades and large smooth rock surface for basking. Wright designed a house like nothing ever seen before. He wrote a letter to Algar Kasman, saying he was so stirred by the setting that he wanted to create a building that would be an accompaniment to the music industry. As for the green's future, around this famous collection, one would think that the magnificent forest that surround waterfalling is the perfect setting for such a gem, but Wright turned this idea on its head. All the rooms in the house face the hill across the stream through ample windows like a picture-perfect scenery. The garden is nature itself, with native oaks, hickory, tulip tree, and rhododendron growing freely. Even the small lawn next to the house is planted with grass, which require little or not moving at all. When Edgar Kaman bought the land in the 1920s, it was far from neat. Although the big American chestnut tree has been ravaged, nature saved itself, but best it could retain its beauty. Edgar Kaman was a conservationist, so she planted lots of non-native plants such as the Norway spruce tree to replace the American chestnut. The Kamans also grew a number of non-natives in their garden. The natives' favour of the place persists, but the instructor species were to cause unintended trouble later on. Nowadays, Pennsylvania conservationists strive to restore nature in the best. It says to have some of the non-native plants require constant control. The only allowed ones to non-native is the wisteria, a plant rich in symbolism in China and Japan. This vine, with its perfume flower, graced one of the trees, the nature setting of the Fallingwater house, also a very important role in designing it.
Wright used only four main materials to build Fallingwater: sandstone, reinforced concrete, steel, and glass. He used quite a lot of clear glass to allow the outside to flow freely into inside. At certain times of day, the glass becomes very reflective and reminds some people of the mirror-like surface of a calm pool of the water from the waterfall. At night, the glass seems to disappear. It's said that we can see still throughout the house in railing, shut windows and doors. Wright wanted to remind people of the iron ore and also give people a fairy feeling by painting the steel red. All the stone at Fallingwater was quartered about 500 feet west of the waterfalls. Wright had ordered workers to put out the stone in a rough and rather shifting manner so it would look like rocks are coming right from the ground for a gathered natural look. The total project price of Fallingwater is $155,000. Adjusted for inflation is the equivalent of approximately $2.6 million in 2013. A reflection of the relative cost of the project is its time is that the cost of restoration alone in 2009 was reported at 11.4 million.